Documented Honda Goldwing motorcycles have clocked over 300,000 miles on original drivetrains. Yamaha MT-07 owners have reported six-figure mileage with nothing more than oil changes and chain adjustments. And there are Africa Twin riders who have pushed well beyond 500,000 kilometers on a single bike. These machines just refuse to die. But then you have owners of certain other brands posting on motorcycle forums about catastrophic engine failures at 12,000 miles, dealership repair bills that cost more than some used cars, and one manufacturer that recently told thousands of riders to literally stop riding their brand new motorcycles immediately. So which bikes can you actually trust with your money and your life? And which ones belong on a do not buy list? That is exactly what we are going to break down today. Not just opinions or dealership sales pitches. We pulled together the best evidence available for this video. Long-term owner reports, consumer reports survey data, rider share rental fleet breakdown statistics, recall histories, and known mechanical weak points across every major brand. And before we get into it, one thing worth saying up front. Motorcycle reliability is messy. One owner gets 200,000 trouble-free miles. The next person gets a lemon at 5,000. What actually matters are patterns across thousands of bikes. That is what we are looking at today. So how do you even measure motorcycle reliability in the first place? Because the dirty secret the industry does not want you to know is that there is almost no good data out there. The most cited reliability study in motorcycling comes from Consumer Reports. They surveyed more than 11,000 subscribers covering over 12,000 motorcycles. Sounds solid, right? That survey was conducted in 2015, over a decade ago, and Consumer Reports has never repeated it. The data is useful, but dated. It reflects motorcycles from a very different engineering era than what is sitting in showrooms today. J.D. Power used to publish motorcycle quality rankings in the United States too. They stopped around 2006, partly due to manufacturer pushback over the results, and partly because sample sizes were tough to maintain. The only current J.D. Power motorcycle study covers the Indian domestic market, and comparing those results to American or European riding conditions is like comparing apples to sledgehammers. So where does that leave us? One of the more useful modern data sets comes from a company called Riders Share, the motorcycle rental platform. Their fleet has logged over 20 million miles since 2021 across every major brand. And because they track every single roadside breakdown and tow request, their data gives you a real-world window into which bikes actually strand riders on the side of the highway. Now, rental fleet data has its own biases. Riders abuse rentals, skill levels vary, and the brand mix is not perfectly even. But it is still one of the most transparent, large-scale data sets available, and it cuts through marketing spin in ways that surveys alone cannot. Now, combining all three sources together, the Consumer Reports survey, the Riders Share fleet data, and long-term owner reporting from major riding forums, a clear picture starts to form. And it starts with four letters, made in Japan. The Consumer Reports 4-year failure rates told a story that surprised almost nobody who actually rides. Yamaha came in at 11%, Honda and Suzuki tied at 12%, Kawasaki sat at 15%. Those are absurdly low failure rates for any motor vehicle, let alone machines that vibrate at high revolutions per minute, lean through corners in the rain, and live their entire lives exposed to the elements. The Riders Share raw tow data largely confirmed this, with Honda and Kawasaki both posting a 0.2% tow rate across their rental fleet. Yamaha came in at 0.3%. Suzuki landed at 0.35%. All four Japanese brands clustered tightly together at very low breakdown rates. Interestingly, Indian and BMW actually tied at just 0.18% in raw tow data. That surprises a lot of people because BMW scored poorly in survey numbers. But this suggests something important. Many BMW problems are expensive and annoying, rather than catastrophic failures that leave you stranded on the highway. That is a useful distinction when you are deciding where to spend your money. When Riders Share adjusted their data further to account for rider behavior and trip type, a couple of brands moved sharply downward. We will get to those shortly. One brand worth a quick mention is Triumph. The British manufacturer posted a 29% failure rate in the Consumer Reports survey, which is not great. But modern Triumph motorcycles, especially the Hinckley-era triple-cylinder engines, have earned a noticeably stronger real-world reputation than that older survey number suggests. Owner satisfaction has climbed steadily, and the engineering has matured considerably. The main recurring complaints on modern Triumphs are cam chain tensioner issues, stator and regulator failures, and starter clutch problems on certain models. Not deal breakers, but worth knowing if you are shopping used. What makes Japanese motorcycle engineering so consistently reliable comes down to philosophy. Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Kawasaki all prioritize over-engineering critical engine components, using proven designs for decades before making changes, and building motors with massive tolerances that forgive lazy maintenance and aggressive riding equally. Their dealer networks across North America are also the densest in the industry, which means when something does eventually break, parts are cheap, plentiful, and close by. But knowing which brands lead the reliability charts is only half the battle. You need to know which specific motorcycles to buy. So let us walk through every major segment and pick the winners. Starting with adventure bikes. If you are shopping for an adventure motorcycle and long-term reliability is your top priority, the Honda Africa Twin is the gold standard. The CRF 1100L has a documented track record that borders on absurd. There are documented Africa Twin owners who have pushed well beyond 500,000 kilometers on a single bike. And the current generation carries the same engineering DNA with updated electronics and smoother power delivery. One thing to note though, Honda issued a 2024 to 2025 recall on the Africa Twin for a crankcase sealing bolt that can leak oil onto the rear tire. It is a free dealer fix, so get it handled before you hit the highway. Right behind the Africa Twin sits the Yamaha Tenere 700. The CP2 parallel twin engine in this motorcycle originally came from the MT-07, and adventure riders widely consider it one of the most durable adventure engines currently in production. Simple two-valve heads, easy service access, and a reputation for eating miles without complaint. It is also significantly cheaper than the Africa Twin, which makes the value proposition extremely hard to beat. And if you want the budget-friendly long hauler, the Suzuki V-Strom 650 and 1050 have been cult favorites for cheap, drama-free mileage for well over a decade now. The V-twin motor in a mild tune basically just wants to keep going and going, like the Energizer Bunny of motorcycles. Now you are probably wondering about the BMW GS. This is where things get interesting. The BMW R1250 GS and the newer R1300 GS dominate adventure bike sales worldwide. There are documented examples of GS motorcycles reaching 300,000 miles, but BMW posted a 40% four-year failure rate in the Consumer Reports survey. That is the worst of any brand they tested. We will dig deep into why later, because the BMW story is way more complicated than the headline number suggests. Switching gears to touring motorcycles. The Honda Goldwing is basically the Toyota Camry of the motorcycle world, except way more fun to ride on a Sunday morning. The flat-six engine with shaft drive creates a parts and maintenance pipeline that lets touring riders reach 200,000 to 400,000 miles routinely. If you can find a used Goldwing in decent shape at a fair price, buy it immediately. You will probably still be riding that bike when your car has rusted out in the driveway. For used touring bargains, the Honda ST1300 is criminally underrated. A documented case on YouTube showed an owner hitting 100,000 miles on a 2009 ST1300 with only minor issues along the way. The earlier ST1100 is equally tough. The Yamaha FJR1300, still available in some markets, offers a shaft-driven inline four-cylinder engine that touring riders regularly push well past 100,000 miles without sweating. And the Kawasaki Concours 14 shares its platform with the ZX14R sport bike, which means it has the heart of a superbike inside a comfortable touring body. Pretty wild combination. For Harley-Davidson touring, the Milwaukee 8 engine bikes from 2017 and later are genuinely solid long-haul machines. Harley touring motorcycles routinely log 100,000 miles, and hitting 150,000 to 200,000 is not unusual on well-maintained examples. One legendary Harley rider named Dave Zien crossed 1 million miles on a 1991 FXR Super Glide. The current Milwaukee 8 motor is not perfect, and we will cover its quirks in detail later, but compared to what came before it, massive improvement. For cruiser riders, keep it simple. The Honda Rebel lineup in 300, 500, and 1100 variations offers cheap ownership and dead simple maintenance. Consumer Reports identified cruisers as the most reliable motorcycle segment overall, with just a 15% 4-year failure rate across all brands tested. The Yamaha Bolt and V-Star are air-cooled V-twins with very little to go wrong. The Kawasaki Vulcan 900 is straightforward and cheap to service. Indian motorcycles deserve a serious look here. Indian tied with BMW for the lowest tow rate in the entire rider share fleet at just 0.18%. The Indian Scout uses a one-piece machined crankshaft instead of the press-fit design that Harley uses, and experienced owners frequently point to that engineering decision as a real long-term durability advantage. In the sport bike world, the Suzuki Hayabusa has been in production since 1999, and the current 1,340 cubic centimeters inline 4, making 188 horsepower, is widely cited as one of the most durable sport bike engines ever built. The Hayabusa is basically a Japanese muscle car on two wheels that flat out refuses to break down. Owners on Hayabusa forums have documented engine rebuilds at ridiculous mileages that were entirely optional, done out of curiosity rather than necessity. Yamaha's YZF R1 and MT10 share the CP4 crossplane crank engine, which is metronomically reliable. The trade-off is terrible fuel economy, but nobody bought an R1 to save money at the gas station. Honda's CBR 600RR and CBR 1000RR carry long track records of surviving 50,000 miles and beyond when owners are not using them exclusively as track day disposables. One major caution in this category: the Kawasaki Ninja ZX-6R for the 2024 and 2025 model years is under a do-not-ride recall right now. Over-tightened crankcase bolts can damage the number 5 crankshaft bushing, and that can seize the entire engine while you are riding. Around 17,000 bikes in the United States are affected. Do not buy one unless the recall work has been completed and documented. For naked bikes and standards, the Yamaha MT-07 deserves a moment. The CP2 engine in this motorcycle is arguably one of the most durable motorcycle engines currently in production. Owners have documented 6-figure mileage on these bikes with little more than routine maintenance. If someone asked me to name one of the safest reliability bets on sale today, the MT-07 is near the top of that very short list. The MT-07's bigger siblings have a current problem worth knowing about, though. Yamaha issued a recall covering the MT-09, MT-10, and XSR 900 from 2021 through 2025 for a faulty throttle position sensor that can stall the engine unexpectedly. The fix is an ECU reflash and free sensor replacement at any Yamaha dealer. The Suzuki SV650 has been around for 25 years and still refuses to break. It is arguably the best beginner standard ever made. Honda's CB500F and CB650R both carry strong reliability records, and the Kawasaki Z650 and Z900 round out the segment with minimal known issues. For dual sport riders and beginners, the Kawasaki KLR 650 is the unkillable single-cylinder legend with a cult following for global adventure travel and dirt-cheap parts. The Suzuki DRZ 400S is simple, air and oil cooled, and virtually impossible to destroy. The Honda CRF 300L is the modern lightweight pick for adventure riding, with durability that has completely rewritten expectations for small displacement motorcycles. Before we jump into the danger zone, let us talk about the USD motorcycle market, because some of the best reliability bargains are bikes with a few years on them that have already proven themselves. If you want a motorcycle that will hit 100,000 miles and keep going, the proven picks read like a Honda and Yamaha greatest hits list. The Honda Goldwing across any generation is the undisputed king of long-haul survival. Multiple documented examples on owner forums show Goldwings well past 300,000 miles on original drivetrains with nothing more than scheduled maintenance. The Honda ST1100 and ST1300 are both underappreciated touring tanks. The Honda VFR 800 Interceptor is another sleeper pick that owners ride into the ground without drama. On the Yamaha side, the FJR 1300 and the older Super Tenere 1200 are both proven distance machines that touring riders swear by. The Kawasaki Concourse 14 and the Suzuki V-Strom 650 round out the Japanese used bike hall of fame, with large owner communities reporting six-figure mileage and minimal major repairs. For American-made long haulers, Harley touring bikes with Milwaukee 8 engines and Indian Chiefs running the Thunderstroke motor both have proven track records in the high mileage club. One documented example on a Harley forum shows a 2006 Sportster 1200R hitting 306,000 miles. The engine was rebuilt once at 206,000 due to an oil blockage issue, not normal wear. That is the kind of durability that earns respect regardless of what brand badge sits on the tank. One more thing worth remembering about the used motorcycle market. The definition of high mileage varies wildly depending on what type of bike you are looking at. For sport bikes, buyers start getting nervous around 25,000 to 40,000 miles because those engines run at higher revolutions per minute and take more abuse. For cruisers, 50,000 to 75,000 is considered well used. Touring bikes are barely getting warmed up at 100,000 miles. And dual sport motorcycles see harder wear under 20,000 miles than a touring bike accumulates at 60,000, simply because the riding conditions are so much rougher. Now for the section you actually came here for, the motorcycles and brands you should think very carefully about before handing over your money. If you are finding this breakdown useful, hit subscribe. We cover honest motorcycle content every week, and what comes next might save you thousands of dollars on a bad purchase. So, the reliability winners are clear. But the cautionary list? This is where things get uncomfortable for brand loyalists. I say that with respect. There are passionate fans of every brand on this list who will disagree loudly in the comments. The data is the data. KTM is in the middle of a credibility crisis that goes well beyond a few bad headlines. The company and its parent corporation, Pure Mobility, took heavy financial losses in 2024, and they have been slow to address a documented camshaft wear problem on the LC8C parallel twin engine. This affects the KTM 790 Duke, KTM 790 Adventure, and reportedly some 890 models, and Husqvarna Norden 901 motorcycles too. KTM North America eventually acknowledged the issue publicly, attributing it to insufficient oil feed and narrow finger followers on model year 2018 through mid-2020 units, both of which they say have been revised. But KTM owners on forums are reporting individual repair bills between $2,000 and $3,000 on out-of-warranty bikes. That is painful money for a motorcycle you bought expecting precision Austrian engineering. A separate brake recall also hit roughly 20,000 KTM, Husqvarna, and Gas off-road motorcycles in North America during 2025. And KTM maintenance overall is more labor-intensive than Japanese alternatives, with multiple oil screens, frequent water pump services on the V-twins, and short service intervals that stack ownership costs up quickly. Ducati has genuinely improved its service intervals recently. Current models call for oil service every 7,500 to 9,000 miles, and Desmo valve service at up to 18,000 miles on certain platforms. But the cost per service still bites. It is expensive. Ducati Panigale owners on forums routinely report Desmo service bills between $1,500 and $2,000. One documented $1,199 Panigale service came in at just under $1,900. The writer's share data actually shows Ducati's breakdown rate is closer to the Japanese average than its reputation suggests. But parts pricing, limited dealer coverage, and complex electronics keep total ownership costs high compared to the Japanese competition. Harley-Davidson is a tale of two engines, and getting this wrong on the used market can cost you an entire motor. The twin-cam engine from 1999 through roughly 2006 is the single most warned about motorcycle engine on every used bike forum. The plastic spring-loaded cam chain tensioner shoes inside these engines can disintegrate. When they break apart, debris gets sucked into the oil pump and causes total, catastrophic engine failure. Harley redesigned them with hydraulic tensioners around 2006 and 2007. If a used Harley seller mentions a twin-cam engine from that era, proceed very carefully and verify that the tensioner upgrade has been documented. The Milwaukee 8 engine from 2017 onward is significantly better, but it has its own known complaints. Owners report oil sumping between 5,000 and 12,000 miles, a transmission clunk when shifting into first gear, excessive idle heat that can cook your legs in summer traffic, and rocker box and cam chest oil seepage. There is also a current NHTSA recall on 2018 through 2024 Softail models for rear shock preload adjusters that can break and damage the rear tire. This is actually a second recall for the same issue after a 2023 fix apparently fell short. BMW is the most polarizing motorcycle brand in the world, and both sides have a point. They posted the worst failure rate at 40% in the Consumer Reports survey. The Boxer GS platform has a long-running reputation for expensive driveline issues, particularly on some earlier GS generations, where final drive problems were a well-known headache. BMW recalled roughly 18,500 R12 50 GS and R12 on 50 RT motorcycles built between 2019 and 2023 for a gearbox input shaft that can fracture. Some early R1300 GS owners have also raised concerns on forums about inconsistent front brake feel and stability at higher speeds, though it is too early to call those systemic issues. BMW also recalled M1000R and M1000XR Sport models from 2024 and 2025 for a steering damper defect. Parts and labor are expensive across the entire lineup. A replacement drive shaft alone costs close to $700 just for the component before you pay for installation. But 68% of BMW owners in that same Consumer Reports survey said they would buy the brand again. That is higher than Yamaha at 65%. Think about that for a second. The least reliable brand in the survey has more loyal repeat buyers than the most reliable brand. BMW riders know what they are getting into. They accept the maintenance premium because the engineering refinement and riding dynamics are worth the hassle. If you budget for BMW ownership costs from day one and build a relationship with a good independent mechanic who knows the platform, you can put serious miles on a GS. If you walk in expecting Honda-level running costs, you will be frustrated and broke within the first 2 years. And then there is Royal Enfield. This is the brand that performed most poorly in the rider share fleet data, posting a 0.86% raw tow rate, roughly 4 times the fleet average. After adjusting for rider behavior and trip type, those numbers got even worse, climbing to a 5.69% adjusted breakdown rate. Now, rental fleet data can be skewed by who rents certain brands and how they ride them. But the pattern shows up in owner forums outside India, too. Reports list chronic electrical and battery faults, regulator and rectifier failures, instrument cluster glitches, and engines that cut out at higher RPMs under sustained load. Build quality on the modern 650 twin models is dramatically better than older Royal Enfields, and genuinely decent for the price. But long-term durability beyond the 3-year factory warranty has significantly less evidence behind it than Japanese rivals, particularly in markets where the dealer support network is thinner. The 2025 J.D. Power study that ranked Royal Enfield first for quality only applies to the Indian domestic market and measures initial quality, not long-term durability. Here are the major active recalls to check before buying any motorcycle right now. Kawasaki issued a do not ride order on the 2024 and 2025 Ninja ZX-6R models. BMW recalled the R1250 GS for gearbox shaft fractures. Honda recalled the Africa Twin, the NT1100, and the XL750 Transalp for a risk of crankcase oil leaks. Yamaha recalled the MT-09, MT-10, and XSR900 for throttle sensor stalling. Harley recalled 2018 through 2024 Softail models for shock bracket failures. Indian recalled several 2025 Touring models for fuel pump wiring defects. Every recall is a free dealer repair. Check the NHTSA website with your VIN before your next ride. So where does this leave you? If absolute reliability is your #1 priority, start with the Japanese Big Four. Yamaha and Honda lead practically every metric. The Yamaha MT-07, Tenere 700, and FJR 1300, alongside the Honda Goldwing, Africa Twin, and CB series, are all fantastic choices. The Suzuki V-Strom, SV650, Hayabusa, and the Kawasaki KLR650 and Concourse 14 complete the safest bets across every riding style. And it is not just reliability where Japanese bikes win. Consumer Reports identified Japanese brands as having the lowest maintenance and parts costs by a significant margin. Honda and Yamaha parts are cheap, widely stocked at dealerships across North America, and easy to source online. Compare that to BMW or Ducati, where dealer-only special tools and factory software for diagnostics keep even basic services locked behind expensive appointments. If you want American iron with real character, Harley Milwaukee 8 touring bikes and the Indian lineup are excellent once you accept the higher costs and known quirks. The sound, the culture, the open road touring experience on a big American V-twin is something no Japanese bike replicates. You are paying a premium for that feeling, and plenty of riders consider it money well spent. And if European engineering is calling your name, BMW GS and even Ducati can absolutely reward owners who plan for maintenance from day one and stay religious about service schedules. The real question is not which motorcycle is the most reliable overall. It is which one is the most reliable for how you actually ride and what you are willing to spend on upkeep. Because a 50,000-mile bike with a complete service history in the seller's hands is always a better buy than a 10,000-mile garage queen that sat for 5 years with old fuel and dry rotted tires. Every time.